Well, Tim, made it to Friday, but not
Some
before
weeks.
pretty
Yeah.
significant market day. I mean, crazy. And, we talked about this on Fast Money yesterday, then on our little podcast last night. I mean, Facebook is a big story. And at first it didn't seem like a lot of people cared earlier in the week. Now I think everybody cares. And the fact that, again, Verizon said what they said, they're going to be more, and we're starting to see the companies line up. You'll probably hear it over the weekend too.
And here comes Unilever, who's also pretty much, they've actually put a timeline, and it's not a month. It's till at least the end of the year, which is putting them in the penalty box. And back to a market which mega cap tech you can't have Google sell off 5.5% on the day when it's supposed to be about Facebook, and not worry about the entire market being put in the penalty box. And I think it was Monday, Tuesday, we were really talking about this kind of passive move into mega cap tech, and we've also talked about how the retail investor was selling their airlines and going into Amazon as a safety. Well, I mean, this could be a self-fulfilling thing, and in fact, if Facebook really is in trouble here, and let's talk about some of the news after hours, where it looks like Facebook's actually making some policy adjustments, maybe a little bit late. But to me, look, if we lose the leadership from mega cap tech, when we've been trying to find excuses, and you've done a great job with this, and I think you've hung in the pocket that's at times looked like it was collapsing around you. Banks have been a disaster. Transports have been a disaster. So cyclical stuff has not worked. And for the last 3 weeks, it's really been all about this. Dare I evoke the Karate Kid here, but I think Sensei's right now saying sweep the leg. And what's that guy's name? Danny Zabko, who played a bully and kind of a DICK in every movie in the 80s and 90s, and he did it well, by the way. I'm talking about the boyfriend in Vacation. I'm talking about he was in Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. He was the guy on the swim team. I mean, Billy Zabka was the consummate bully dick in those movies. Okay, but anyway,
so I just want to say, did you feel somehow by spelling that word out, it somehow absolved you of any wrongdoing?
You know what? I tend to not have potty mouth, and so I'm trying to stay clear. I think we can. I don't know if I transgressed, but thanks for calling me out.
You touched on a lot of interesting things, and what sticks with me is that you brought up Google, and I'm glad you did, because why was Google down as much as it was? Some people would say it's collateral damage, and this is not about you. I'm not suggesting you do this, but what's fascinating to me is it'll be talked about on a day like today is why is Google down? Yet on days when these stocks are up 4%, 5%, 6% collectively, nobody talks about it.
Nobody says anything.
Exactly the same. And the reason
you say it all the time, though. People don't talk about upside vol, and I think that's an important point you make on those days. No one acts like there's anything wrong with that.
And when all these individual names are packaged into dozens, and in the case of Apple, 280, I think, different ETFs. When you see buying in these ETFs, that drags up the underlying. But when you see selling in these ETFs, you get dragged down as well. Whether or not you should be or not, it becomes collateral damage. And I think that's what you're seeing. And I'm not saying we're on the precipice of anything. I'm not. I'll stick to that 2790, 2800 level in the S&P because it makes a lot of sense. But
it wouldn't
bear in mind, there's things going on here.
It wouldn't be catastrophic, and at that point, it may be at 2850 to go back to the Karate Kid, and I don't know what this kid's name was, but he was part of the Cobra Kai's, like during the big I don't know even what you call, like, what do you call like a karate meet? I mean, I don't know.
A match. I have no idea.
All right, but so again, Zabka was going against Machio, and Ponyboy was basically wounded, and then the guy on the sideline just put him in a body bag, man. Anyway, so the point is, I don't think the market's going into a body bag here, and it certainly would be inconsistent with what I've been saying. I think there's way too much liquidity out there. I think it was a difficult week to be thinking about the influence that the Fed has in the entire economy and ultimately in the equity value of banks and corporates and now airlines today. So I think we have to think about this entire mosaic. But Facebook's move today And we often say this, I wouldn't call this a black swan moment, but in the same way people look back at these moments and weren't expecting this trigger, this was not the trigger that was going to take the market down. If anything, it may have been the White House and DOJ, but people were not expecting the Madison Avenue community and the advertisers themselves. And frankly, good for them. Good for them, because after the bell here, Facebook has already done something that they've never done, which is saying they're going to adjust their policies. Let's wait and see how they backpedal out of this one. But it's an interesting Friday afternoon, my man.
Yeah, and it might be too little, too late. Who knows? You know, they're having emergency meetings over the weekend at Facebook without question. And, you know, something just dawned on me. I happen to know this for a fact. Ralph Macchio is a huge Fast Money fan, and he's not going to like me saying this, but really the only movie that he was ever in worth watching was, of course, The Outsiders. The other movie you just been, you know, dancing around. What was it called? Karate
First of all,
Kid.
don't act like you haven't seen The Karate Kid, because I think it was
Portions of it.
it's a heartwarming tale. I mean, poor guy got uprooted, had to move to this town in Cali where apparently everybody was a kung fu master. And he had to learn how to defend himself. And ultimately he got the girl in the end. So Miyagi, by the way, Pat Morita, tremendous role. I mean, we've talked about Happy Days this week. The fact that Arnold got involved in a major way, talk about resurrecting a career. I don't think he ever could have survived being just the proprietor at Arnold's. But look at him, Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off guy. I'll see you on Monday.
Have a good weekend.